All right, welcome everyone to our May webinar from Southern College of Optometry. We're glad to see you all here. As always, my name is Mike McKeever. I'm the Student Services and Admissions Officer here at the college. You may have met me out on the road, or it's a pretty good chance that you've either sent me an email or called me. So I see when I'm looking at the attendees here, a lot of familiar names. And I also see some new names too. So to the ones who have joined us before, welcome back as always. And to our new faces, welcome. We hope you're going to enjoy this information. This is always a popular session I do every year. We're going to talk today about the OAT. Many of you probably at this point have a good idea of what the OAT is. For a lot of you, this might be a bit of a review. But even if it's a review, I'm sure that we're going to cover some information that is new to you. So sit tight and you'll probably learn something here. So topics we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about what is the OAT. We're going to talk about how do I sign up for the OAT and show you some different resources to help you prepare the best way you can for this test. We're going to talk about how you can submit your test scores after the test and the procedures if you do need to retake the test if you're not successful on the first attempt. So what is the OAT? Well, it's an abbreviation for the Optometry Admissions Test. That is the required admissions test that you must pass in order to be admitted to optometry school. It's actually administered by the American Dental Association. So same organization that does the dental admissions test, they also administer the OAT. And we're going to talk about how you get signed up. So there's a specific procedure that you'll have to do that. So we're going to do step by step and show you how to do that. Why do we require the OAT? For a number of reasons. This test is going to show us your aptitude for different basic sciences. The curriculum in optometry school and the curriculum at SCO is very, very intense and very rigorous, especially the didactic portions the first 2 years. There is a lot of basic sciences involved. And the numbers from this test are going to show us that you do have the aptitude to handle this high-level work in professional school. Also, why we require the OAT is you probably know, preparing for optometry school, that you're going to take the national board exams. And just graduating from optometry school, getting a diploma from optometry school, does not make you an optometrist. You must pass the 3-part national board exams to be eligible for state licensure to be an optometrist. And studies have shown that performance on the OAT, the Optometry Admissions Test, are a very good determination on how you're going to perform later on the national board exams. So those are 2 of the reasons we require this test. The test is also categorical. And what do I mean by that? It's broken down into sections. And as you can see on the OAT, there's going to be a section covering biology, general chemistry, organic chemistry, physics, reading comprehension, and quantitative reasoning. And the test is graded out of 400. So from 0 to 400, and each section, and then all of those will be averaged together, and we're going to take an academic average. We're also going to break down the scores even further and take just the sciences out, the biology, the general chemistry, the organic chemistry, and physics, and we're going to take a total science score out of that. So we're going to look at an academic average, again, all of those scores averaged together, and a total science score, just the biology, the general chemistry, the organic chemistry, and the physics, and we're going to look at those scores. And the test is timed, so you definitely want to factor that into your preparation. So I have, straight from the Optometry Admissions Test website, the kind of breakdown of what you're going to encounter on test day. And you're going to be given 280 total minutes to do each section. So think about timing when you're doing your preparation. 280 minutes is just over 4.5 hours. There's going to be a tutorial at the beginning. You will have an optional scheduled break in the middle. So as you can see during the breakdown there of the sections, the survey of natural sciences, that's going to be your biology, chemistry, and organic chemistry. That's going to be 90 minutes. You're going to have 50 minutes for your reading comprehension test. Your physics, you're going to get 50 minutes. And then the quantitative reasoning test is going to be 45 minutes. And then with the break and the tutorial, again, that goes out to about 280 minutes. So when you're studying, it's important to realize that you're going to be timed. So factor that into your studying. Time yourself while you're studying each section. We're going to get into how you can study for that more in a minute. So how do we look at the breakdown of these scores and how do we evaluate that? And if you've attended one of my sessions before, you've seen this chart before, this Are You Competitive chart. The way we do our admission standards at SCO, we go by averages. So we use the average of the last entering class to inform our admission standards for the class we're interviewing for now. So the students that are starting in fall 2017, we're using the fall 2016 admission standards to inform that. So as I said before, we go by averages. So the average OAT score for the 2016 entering class is a 328. So thinking about when you're going to take the test, 320 or higher is what you want to be shooting for. That's what we consider a competitive score. Now, that's not a black or white situation that your GPA can come into play with that, your level of experience when we're evaluating your application. So just scoring a 320 or higher doesn't mean you're safe. But when all else is said and done, we usually consider a 320 or higher a competitive score. The 300 to 320, that's kind of the low end of average. So a 300 is generally the lowest score we will accept to gain admission to Southern College of Optometry. So if you score a 290 or below, that is an automatic retake. Normally, if you score a 310 or below, we recommend you retake the test. As I said before, a 300 is the lowest we will accept. You can be admitted to SCO with a 300. You may not be interviewed until later down the cycle with that score. So normally a 300 or a 310, it's definitely a good idea to retake the test. But a 320 or higher is going to put you in that safe range generally. So how do you sign up for the test? We talked about before, you're going to sign up through the American Dental Association, the ada.org. I have the website right there, so let's take a look at that. So this is the website where you're going to go to sign up for the test. Definitely, if you haven't done so already, start familiarizing yourself with this material right now, because there's a procedure to do this. There are testing centers all over the country to where you'll go take the test. Generally, if you're near a big city, there's one close to you, and generally probably within an hour of where you live, there's a testing center. But definitely go on this website now or after the session and familiarize yourself with this so you know the procedure. There's a very good FAQ section on this website. I use it to get my information about the test, to tell you all you need to know about the timing, where to sign up, the fees involved with that. So definitely right now, start taking a look at this website, and it'll tell you all the procedures to sign up for the OAT. So how do you prepare for the OAT? It's going to take a lot of preparation and studying. When you're in college right now, and believe me, I've been through this too, what you're doing a lot of times is memorizing a great deal of information to regurgitate it for a test, and then oftentimes after you take that test, it's out of your head, and then you're on to the next thing. What you need to get in the habit of doing is retaining that information. That's going to come into play, number one, on the OAT for what you're preparing for now. When you're in optometry school, it's going to come into play because everything you're learning in the classroom or in the labs is going to be directly applicable to what you're going to be doing with patient care and in the clinic. So you're going to need to retain it that way. Also, remember we talked about taking those national board exams. During your third year, your spring semester, when you're going to encounter part one of the national boards, you're going to have to retain all that information from the past 3 years. So what you need to get in the habit of doing right now is what I call creating and maintaining a culture of review. So if you have any extra time here and there, if you have, an hour between classes or a free hour at night, maybe start pulling out those biology notes. Maybe start pulling out those chemistry notes. Start going over that stuff so you can not only, you're not cramming this information into your head to take a test, you're reviewing it on a regular basis so it is staying in your head. So when it comes time to take the test, that information is readily available. You can pull it out. So definitely start that habit now, especially if you're thinking of taking the OAT maybe a year from now. It's never too early to start studying. So if you wait till the last minute, cramming, then that's going to be too stressful, and it's probably not going to have a good result. So the earlier you start doing this, the earlier you start reviewing information on a regular basis, the more easily you're going to be able to retain that. So preparing for the OAT, probably a lot of you have not encountered a standardized test like this since you took the ACT, maybe in high school and you're preparing for college. So it's been a while since many of you have maybe done this. If you have test anxiety or things like this, these are all things to take into account for preparing for a test like this. Many people are able to study on their own. If they're a self-paced studier, they can prepare for that. But there are many, many outside resources available to you to help you prepare for this test. So let's take a look at some of those. So what I'm going to show you, number one, is the service called Kaplan. Now, Kaplan is one of the biggest suppliers of test prep materials, not just for the OAT. They do test prep for many, many different professional school tests. So they're the big one. So they offer many, many services that you can get involved with and take a look at. I'm going to show you right now. So they offer professional courses like this that if you want to pay for, that can help you prepare for the test. Now, as you can see right here, you're probably gasping like I am. These are very, very expensive. So normally, I would recommend taking a Kaplan course or something like that as a last resort if studying on your own or doing these other study prep materials is not working for you. One thing you want to definitely keep in mind with Kaplan is Kaplan does partner with a lot of colleges and universities. So definitely what you want to do is check with either your pre-professional health advisor or the pre-professional health office and ask them if Kaplan is a campus partner with your institution. Because if so, a lot of the times these courses are offered on campus either free of charge, built into your tuition, or at a greatly reduced fee. So definitely that might be a resource at your campus that you don't know of that you could be taking advantage of, and you could get these very, very good and effective test prep services either free of charge or at a greatly reduced fee. Definitely books and things that you want to take a look at too that will help you prepare. Kaplan also has their OAT study guide that they put out every year. They update that. Another one, Cracking the OAT by the Princeton Review. And as you can see, these are not that much money. The Princeton Review book is only $20. The Kaplan Review book is around $40. Another thing you want to check too, if you want to get some of these resources, again, check with the pre-professional health office. Oftentimes they have these books that are available for you to check out you can use. Maybe check with an upperclassman also before you buy, because maybe they would have bought one of these books and are looking to unload it after they've taken the OAT, and they'll sell it to you a little cheaply. One thing that all these services will have, though, the OAT study guide, the Cracking the OAT, on the Kaplan website, even on the Optometry Admissions Test website, they're going to have practice tests available for you to use. Definitely take as many practice tests that are available to you. Time yourself while you're taking the practice test, because remember we talked about the timelines of the OT, 280 total minutes. They are going to be timing you while you're doing this. So that's really going to factor in to what you're going to experience on test day. So take a lot of practice tests, average those scores together, and kind of see how you do. One thing that I do advise students to do is when you're taking the practice test, don't take them all at home or in your dorm or in your apartment or a place that is really, really safe and comfortable to you, because test day is not going to be safe or comfortable. You're going to be taking it at a testing center. It's an uncomfortable, stressful environment. You're going to have some butterflies anyway on test day. So go and take some of these practice tests at kind of a louder environment, maybe at a coffee shop or in the student union or somewhere where there's a lot of distractions around, because that will mimic some of that stress and anxiety and the distractions that you're going to encounter on the test day. So that's a really, really good tactic when you're studying for the test. So definitely recommend doing that. Another service that if you don't know about that is a really, really good one is called CourseSaver.com. And it's a service within CourseSaver.com called Chad's Videos, like the first name Chad. Students are reporting a lot of success after using these services, and they have a lot of fun doing that. These are video-based services, and this guy Chad does videos not just for the OAT prep, but for other pre-professional school exams. So definitely a good resource to do that. There are some free content available too. There is some paid content available as well. They also have quizzes built in that you can take after you do it, and they're timed as well. So it can give you a pretty good idea, timing as you're going to be doing a test day. So definitely take advantages of these services too. And if you just want to use the free content, you can, but it's really not that expensive. If you choose to do that, you can do some a la carte services that are $10 to $35. You can also do a subscription services too, which is only $50 a month. So if you say I'm going to use Chad's videos for only a month, that's $50 that you have access to all of this material. So this is very, very invaluable stuff. And you want to see Chad in action. Basically what you're doing is watching him lecture. Right here he's talking about teaching a physics course, for the physics portion of the OAT. So definitely give Chat a try if you haven't done that. And these are just a few of the resources available to you for studying for the OAT. And again, that we're not sponsored by any of these. So these are just things that students before have used, they're successful on. So definitely take advantage of some of these to help you be successful for the test. So what do you do after the test? So you've taken the test, you've gotten your scores, and so where do we go from here? Typically, after you take the test, it takes about 10 days for your official scores to reach the institutions, and there's a specific way those scores reach the institution. There's a little bit of a change that we were just made aware of in reporting the scores. We're going to talk about that right now. So if you're taking the test between now and the 28th of June, the way it'll work is you will designate up to 5 schools for free that you would like your scores sent to. Anything after the 5 schools, if you're applying to more than 5 schools, they're going to charge you a fee for those scores to reach the schools. If you're taking the test June 29th or after, the situation is going to be a little different for reporting your scores. So the way the new system is going to work, so if you're taking June 29th or after, the scores are going to be automatically sent to all optometry schools. If you do not want a specific school to receive your scores, you will have to opt out of that. So if you only want your scores to go to 5 out of the 23 schools, just uncheck the rest of the schools that you don't want your scores to send to. I think this will streamline things a little bit better, and so making sure that your scores are being sent to where they need to be. So if it's a situation where you are taking the OAT after the application cycle opens, and again, as a little bit of review from other sessions before, our application cycle is July 1 to March 1 of the following year, and we do rolling admissions. So as you know, apply early, apply early, apply early. That's the best thing you can do. So if it's a situation where you are taking the OAT after the application cycle is started, or if you have applied to SCO already before you've taken the OAT, you can actually send us in your unofficial scores. So if you haven't taken the OAT yet, right when you are done with the test, right when you hit submit, when you're done, your scores are going to pop up. You're going to know exactly what you got on that test the moment you hit submit. You are going to leave the testing center with a printout that's going to show you your unofficial score report. You can actually scan that document and email that to our admissions office, and we can use that as unofficial record to get moving on your file even sooner. So that could be a pretty good tactic for you. That could, factor in if you're retaking the test too. So that's a good segue into what if I need to retake the test. So there's a lot of factors involved if you need to retake the test. First, you want to think about timing. So again, you need to, when you're signing up to take the test, you need to sign up for a date that's available to take that. Make sure a date's available. If you do need to retake the test, you can't just take it the next day or a week from that or even a month from the test date. The OAT makes you wait a minimum of 90 days in between test attempts. So definitely think about that when you're scheduling your test, because if you do need to retake it, that's going to be 3 months later. And with rolling admission cycles, you want to factor all that into the timeline. So it's a lot to think about when doing that. If you do need to retake the test, the OAT will allow you to take the test to up to 4 attempts. Hopefully, you will not have to have 4 attempts in taking the test. Hopefully, take it once, knock it out of the park, or maybe take it 2, but the OAT will let you have up to 4 attempts for taking the test. Anything after 4 attempts, you need specific permission from one of the optometry schools that you are applying for to authorize you to take the test a 5th time. So that is the procedure if you need to retake the test. And again, if you do need to retake the test, and you've already applied, you've taken the test once, we've advised you that you should retake the test to boost your scores up. Sending us in those unofficial scores right after you take the test could be very, very beneficial to you to get things moving on your application even sooner. So definitely you want to factor that in timing when you're taking the test. So before we get to some questions, I'm sure you always have a lot of good questions in this topic. Just want to tell you about our next session coming up on June 14th, 2017. I'm going to do things a little bit differently. You might have participated in one of these before, but on June 17th, SCO is participating in the ASCO virtual optometry fair. So us, as well as every other optometry school in the country, are going to be on hand for most of that day to answer your questions. So definitely, this is free. And you can access it from anywhere, whether a laptop, a smartphone, even a tablet. So definitely, if you're free that day, definitely sign up for that. You can go to our website that's listed on the screen to get the information about signing up for that. Absolutely free of charge. I will be on hand as well as one of our students all day to answer your questions. So hopefully we can see you there. It'd be fun to hang out with you on June 14th. So let's get to some questions here. And before we do that, I want to make sure that I share my contact information with you. As always, I'll be hanging out close to the email and the phone after the session in case you want to give me a call or shoot me an email and ask a specific question. The website for future online information sessions is posted right there, so you can sign up for future sessions. This session is being recorded. It will be added up to the website within a day or two. So if you want to play it back or you have a friend that wasn't able to be here, that will definitely be posted so they can play it back. And always, if you're a Twitter user, definitely give us a follow at SCO Admissions. We put a lot of important admissions information, some interesting optometry-related articles, and a lot of fun stuff up there. So that's definitely a very active community. So if you're a Twitter user, definitely give us a follow. We'd love to have you there. So let's get to some questions here. Student wants to know that, so we went over this before, maybe came in a little late, that you've taken the OAT and you got a 280. So what's the situation there? Well, if you got a 280, that is definitely too low of a score to be considered for admission to SCO. And remember, going back, let's go back to the review slide. So our current average for the OAT is a 328. And again, that's out of 400. So a 328 academic average is our average for what we're evaluating. So taking that scale into account, the 300 is typically the lowest score we can accept for admission to SCO. And as you can see, I put the admission standards for the last 5 years up there, and I show that to you because what you're seeing up there is consistency. So it's been consistently pretty competitive across the board. So it's been many, many years since we have been able to admit a student with below a 300 academic average on the OAT. So the 280 is 20 points below where you need to be. So you definitely, again, want to shoot for that 320 or higher. 300 to 320 is that lower average range. Below a 300, that's an automatic retake. A large percentage, student wants to know typically how many students take it once or take it twice. Typically around 75 to 80% of the students do take the test once. Again, a smaller percentage after that take it 2 times, and then a very, very small percentage take it 2 or more times after that. So, it's good that thankfully the majority of our students are able to have one attempt and do it because that's good for you anyway. You put a lot of time, effort, and maybe more importantly, funds into this. It's not a inexpensive test. It costs $435 to take the test. So typically a good majority of our students take the test once and are able to be successful, and then a smaller handful take it twice, and then an even smaller handful take it 2 or more times. So in order to be considered for a contract seat, contract seats, if you're from one of the 9 states that we offer, reduced tuition for as a contract through the state, those typically are competitive and they are first come, first serve. So if you are from a contract state, definitely early application is your first step to do that, to be considered for one of those seats. So they are offered to competitive applicants from as certified residents of those states as those applications come in. So if you definitely want to be considered for a contract seat, apply early. So get your application in as soon as you can after the application cycle opens on July 1. Student says that they have the OAT coming up at the end of June. However, they feel like they need a bit more time to study. I think it's really important in those situations to trust your gut. If you feel you need more time, you should take it, because you don't want to just wing it on the OAT. That's a $435 gamble. So you want to make sure you've taken the time to be successful for that test. You want to take into account the timing of it too, because I know that there's about a 30-day window before the test that you would be able to reschedule it. So you definitely want to take timing into that too. And I've counseled students before with that too, is to kind of use that 30 days prior window as the deadline for your studying, so you're able to do that afterwards. So if you get to that 30-day deadline and you're thinking, gee, that I really could use, an extra month or two for studying. I'm really not, maybe I'm not as confident in physics as the other sections. I should, really go over those notes and get some extra tutoring on that section. Definitely take the time if you need it. So if you feel like you need more studying time, definitely take it, but do kind of keep an eye on the timelines of the test and your deadline for being able to reschedule it. So timing is very important in all aspects of this. So it's a good question. All good questions, guys. This is a good one too. So definitely this comes into, definitely read the FAQ on the OAT website that I showed you, because this is going to kind of tell you everything you are allowed to bring into the testing center, and on the other side, everything you are not allowed to bring into. So it's pretty restricted. And once you read that list, you'll see how restrictive they are and what you can bring in there. The student specifically wants to know that they've read that calculators are not allowed on the OAT. That is true. You are not allowed to bring your own calculator into the OAT. Can't have it on your watch. You can't have your smartphone or anything like that, but they do provide you a calculator on the screen. So you definitely have access to a controlled calculator on the computer screen where you're taking the test, but you are not allowed to bring a calculator or most other items into the testing center. So again, definitely go on to the OAT website, definitely read that FAQ, because that's going to tell you everything you're going to need to know to prepare for that test day, including what you're allowed to bring in there and what you're not allowed to bring in there. Great question. Thank you. Guys, we'll just hang out here for a minute, see if any other questions trickle in. So if you haven't, if something's been on your mind, you haven't asked it yet, just feel free to type it in the box here and we'll get to it. Right, y'all, that looks like it might be it. So great questions there. Again, contact information right on the screen. And as always, right after these sessions, I'm going to be sticking right close to the phone and the email. So if I need anything, just feel free to give me a shout, reach out to the, okay, we have some more questions coming in. So if the students want to know when they can see the available testing center. So what you want to do on there is go on there to the website and they're going to assign you a PIN number. And with that PIN number and the registration info, then you can go through the process of signing up and viewing the available dates in the different testing centers. And it's a good idea. So you say you're going to take it this summer. So definitely start that process now because these spots do tend to fill up. And especially the summer is a popular time because a lot of the application cycles for the different optometry schools are opening. So a lot, especially the students that are on the ball, are taking the test around late spring and early summer. So definitely get a handle on that and go onto the website right after this, get your PIN number so you can find a date, a time, and a location that's convenient for you. A student wants to know if you take the OAT after June, is it free to send in the scores? And remember what I said that, yeah, after June 29th, that's where that new system rolls over and takes into effect. So, any scores that are received after June 29th are automatically going to be sent out to all the optometry schools. And if you do not want a specific school to receive your scores, you're going to need to opt out. So there'll be a system on the screen with all the schools and check marks next to them. And if there's a specific school that you do not want to receive your scores, uncheck that. Otherwise, all the schools are going to receive your scores. So we think this will be a better system that makes sure that all the scores get out to where they need to be. Student wants to know, are interviews given before official OAT scores are received? We cannot extend an interview invitation until we receive competitive OAT scores for you. That does not mean we can't begin to review the rest of your file. So if July 1 comes and you're not taking the test until July 15th or July 31st, by all means, feel free to submit the rest of your application and indicate on the application when you are taking the test, and then definitely send us your unofficial scores after you take the test. So that's definitely a good tactic to do. And I think also that so the application cycle, you're going to be using the Optomcast system. That's tedious. That's going to take you some time. So if you can get all that taken care of, get all that submitted, get all your grades entered, get all your letters of recommendation sent in, that's peace of mind for you. So then you can have all that done, and then you can just focus on studying for your tests. But again, to answer your question, we cannot extend an interview invitation until we receive competitive OAT scores from you. Student wants to know, when do interviews at SCO begin? We typically start interviewing in mid-August for a week or two. So we'll interview for a week or two in mid-August. And then we start interviewing full steam ahead right at the beginning of September, typically around Labor Day. And interviews are typically on Fridays. In September, the caveat is that interviews are on Fridays and Mondays. And then from October all the way to the end of March of the following year, we will interview every Friday. So the interview cycle is very, very long. But don't let the length of it think that you can, be lax in sending in your application. So, no matter what the situation for your application, early application is always the best thing you can do. So definitely, if you can, submit the application close to the beginning of that cycle. Well, an early application is as early as possible, as you're asking. So our cycle every year is July 1 to March 1 of the following year. So from July 1 of 2017, that's when the application cycle opens. That's when you are free to submit your application. So early application is as close to the opening as possible. Definitely, if you can get your application in around that time or in the summer, that is definitely the best thing you can do for yourself, is to just get your application as early as possible. Early application, early application, early application. That is my mantra. So the question is, students have taken the OAT before June 29th. So again, that's going to be with the old system. So with the old system, you can designate up to 5 schools that you want your score sent to. And every school after that you want the score sent to, there's a fee involved with that. Typically, a typical pre-optometry student applies to about 5 schools. So that's typically the amount that you'd be sending anyway. So that should work out for you in that regard. Student wants to know that all the prerequisite courses required for admission have to be completed before an application can be submitted. The answer to that question is no. Think about it this way. The typical pre-optometry student applies the summer between their junior and senior year of college. So you apply a year before you intend to start. So that typical pre-optometry student is going to have their senior year of college in between then. So it's a given that they're going to be taking some classes during that time. It's definitely a good idea to have as many of them as you can completed by the time you apply. Number one, that makes it easier for us to evaluate your aptitude by evaluating your science courses. And number two, the foundational knowledge gained from those prerequisite courses, especially those basic lab sciences, is really going to be helpful for OAT preparation. So definitely try to have a good handful of those done by the time you apply. Definitely physics is a big one too, so definitely make sure you have 1 semester of physics at least before you attempt the OAT. So definitely try to have a handle on a good amount of the prerequisites before you apply, before you take the OAT. But again, to answer your question, no, all the prerequisite courses do not have to be completed at the time of application. They just must be completed before you could be able to enroll. Good questions, guys. Keep them coming. All right, guys, it looks like that's it. Again, I'll be hanging out close to the email and the phone for the next hour or two in case you want to reach out personally. This is always a fun session to do, and I'm glad you're asking some great questions. Shows you're really kind of digging in deep to prepare for the OAT. So a lot of you have told me in here your test date. That's coming up pretty soon. So best of luck with that. Study hard. Keep at it. Keep your eye on the prize. Hopefully you'll knock it out of the park. Again, best of luck with that. Definitely keep tuned to our website to register for upcoming sessions. Definitely register for the SCO Virtual Optometry Fair on June 14th. Love to see you there. Again, I'll be on hand all day to answer your questions. But thanks again for chatting with me for an hour here. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.